Go with question. Why should you believe the Bible? Why do we believe the Bible?
It works. Next question. I like doing that next question, Joe. No, I mean, honestly, I would tell you there are some passages in the Bible that I struggle with. There are, any really good, honest Bible scholar will tell you, you know, when David is commanded by God to go cut people's foreskins. Can we talk that honestly among college students here? That just gives me a little bit of a icky feeling, you know. I'm like, Lord, did you really need him to do that? Or I guess I didn't live in the Bronze Age, so there's some stuff I don't understand. But please don't ask me to go do that on anyone, you know. So let's just be really honest. I'm going to be real. As a minister, as someone who's been a Christian for almost 30 years now, I will be honest with you. There's parts I don't understand. There are difficult passages. I'm not shying away from that. What weighs the balance for me is the amount of material in there that one day I didn't think it was that important, and then as I studied and looked and took an honest approach to it, I discovered how important it really was. I'll give you one really great example. In James chapter 4, there's this amazing thing that happens, and here's what's the amazing things about this. James was the brother of Jesus. James was raised in a carpenter's home. He didn't have psychology class number 1. He spoke Hebrew and Aramaic. He lived in an economic structure where when you were born into your class of society, there was no chance of being upwardly mobile. The only mobile in his culture was down. And here all of a sudden, through this miraculous, almost unexplainable moment in history, James, the brother of Jesus, becomes the leader of especially the Jewish Christians in the first century. And he writes this little letter to the Christians, and it's this, I don't know how many here have ever written a term paper that you knew was filled with fluff. Do you ever do a term paper you didn't research enough? You know what I'm talking about? I was doing this example the other night and said, okay, I want you to compare and contrast World War II and the Civil War. And you're like, I didn't study, I've got to write it, it's due tomorrow. The contrastness of the comparative was very war-ish in their comparisons with each other, but not as civil, being that people died, you know, and you just make this stupid stuff up. You know, please tell me, English majors, you don't do this, but because this drives your professors nuts. James is the exact opposite of this. I mean, in 5 short little chapters, almost every line looks like he's been an RA for 10 years. Did you ever meet a really good RA? You know, one of the ones that's no longer shocked by all the drama. There's a little drama in a dorm or apartment building with friends, is there not? Can we be real about that? And the good RAs, what do? They sit back and they say, now, but I hear you say, can't we reconcile this with some, you know, and they use all that RA talk. Can we be honest about that? James looks like he's been through resident life training 10 times. And one of the things he says in James chapter 4, he says this amazing thing. And I've used this in roommates, I've used this in my marriage, I've used this with my kids, and it just stinking works. He says, why do you fight and quarrel among yourselves? You fight and quarrel, and he asks a rhetorical question, he gives it 2 answers. Because of the battles within, and because you want something you cannot have. Now this is an amazing amount of wisdom. The battles within, what is that? That's the sort of stuff that is chewing us up inside that we use on innocent people. I'll give you an example. I had this phone conversation once, really stressful phone conversation with a guy that he and I both had a friendship with a guy that was sleeping with a married woman. I was telling this guy, you can't sleep with a married woman. Her husband was out to sea with the Navy. She had 2 kids. I was like, this is wrong. Don't do it. His psychologist was telling him, no, this is a good way for you to connect and touch and find relationships. And so the psychologist called him and rebuked me for being a fundamentalist minister that's telling him not to sleep with a married woman. We get in a little bit of an argument. I try to keep it professional, but I don't like being rebuked by people with PhDs. So it's kind of stressful for me. And as soon as I got off the phone, the door rings, bing bong, and I walk to the door, and here are the 2 sweetest, nice little Jehovah's Witness people. Now, I want to tell you, if you're a Jehovah's Witness today, I'm not making fun of you. This story is not about you. It's about me. But usually a Jehovah's Witness knocks on my door. I let him in. I'm nice. I got cookies. I feed him cookies. I'm not mad at the Jehovah's Witnesses. But I open the door, and I do disagree with them on some theological points, and I make this huge mistake. I'm so frustrated. She says something like, did you know that Jehovah's got a fig tree just for you? And I was like, you don't believe that Jesus is God. You believe he's an angel. I'm in Colossians 2:9. And I just started, to the point where she started walking across my front lawn. Now, she literally ran away from my house. They literally like jogged. You ever see a Jehovah's Witness jog in a skirt? You know you're being mean when someone's jogging away from you in a skirt with their cameras. is the battle within me was causing a conflict with these people. How many here have ever had a stressful day and you took it out on a friend? Here James, not knowing your language, your culture, your economy, your background, your race even, nails it. And then he says, we battle because we ask for something we cannot have. You know, most conflict is based on unmet want. I want my roommate to clean up more. I want my roommate to relax a little bit. I want my boyfriend to tell me how about his feelings a little bit more. And dude, I just apply these two things and all this reconciliation happens. And that is one example of about 1,000 I can give you. So fundamentally, my trust in the Bible has to do with a rational approach to the fact that it's like that old AA saying, the program works if you work the program. Working the Bible the last 30 years has really worked in my life.